An excellent ecosystem doesn't mean anything unless there are entrepreneurs. So where do you get entrepreneurs? If only there is an entrepreneurial spirit supported by this kind of a favorable ecosystem, that a good entrepreneur can produce results. And good or bad, there has to be an entrepreneur to begin with. So I want all the youngsters, the new potential entrepreneurs, to look at it as a challenge. Don't wait for an ideal situation, an ideal. Let them start with whatever is available. And then, as the old saying, the David Copperfield, I want more, I want more. Please do it. There's no end to that I want more. But unless you start, you do not even know what exactly to ask for. This is by way of forward that I'm mentioning. In the whole context of investment potential and possibilities in Kerala, the need for developing an ecosystem. Well, KSIDC looks after not only in life sciences, but the whole gamut of investment scenario. But I, for one, took that particular initiative to galvanize all effort in the state and in my organization to focus on life sciences. There's a particular reason behind it. All of you know that Kerala was a pioneer in the IT services, IT sector. Well, over the years, somebody else has overtaken us. Many have overtaken us. And in the case of biosciences, life sciences, India is still a beginner, I must say so. And in India, it is the southern states who are taking the lead. But unfortunately, amongst the southern states, despite the type of potential that Kerala has, Kerala does not figure in that map where Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, all leading the pack. So this made me think, and it should also make all of us think, also here and even outside the hall, all those who are concerned about it. A sector like biotechnology, life sciences has tremendous potential, and it should be harnessed, and we should come to the forefront along with all other states of the southern part of India. For which, what kind of ecosystem? It is basically biosciences, life. It's all a knowledge-based, knowledge-managed sector. And specifically, amongst various sectors of life sciences, biotechnology is based mostly on R&D effort. So what is required is basically an emphasis on R&D, linking R&D with the industry, academia, and then an appropriate infrastructure, the state-of-the-art labs for all this, appropriate manpower, duly trained manpower for all that, and a general climate for it. For example, if you want to have a good ecosystem built up and in and around a park, for example, in Trivandrum, we have a park now with almost 200 acres of land. Suppose we want to develop that and we want to attract investment, attract talent. How will you do that? Unless those who are really talented, those who are really at the helm of the affairs, they would ask the first question, is it a place worth living for me and also for my family? That will retain them. So first and foremost, the town, the city should have that kind of an approach to create an ambiance, create an ecosystem for whatever may be the sector, particularly for this kind of a knowledge-based, top-notch R&D related, etc., etc. That is a very important factor.
Thanks, sir. Sam, I think before the question, one is if you could clarify this entire genomics area. A lot of people, the word itself is new to a lot of entrepreneurs here. So one is this genomics area. And the second question, which I'll ask you together, is weren't you advised that, there is no Kuguli in Kerala and there is several other things? and you still came and took that leap and you started off something in Kerala.
Genomics, as everybody would have heard of genes, so you all know you all carry genes, and you get your genes from your parents, a gene from your mother, and the same two copies of every gene, one from your mother and one from your father. So a lot of your diseases that you might get are very linked to the genes that you carry. So till recently, there was no way of reading the genes. So in the last few years, powerful technologies came up that allow you to decode the genes and get the code, or what you can call the source code of life. So that has been a big revolution in the last maybe 5 to 10 years. And that prompted people like me to get into this field of genomics.
Why Kerala? Why did you?
Why Kerala? So, first of all,
Besides the Malayali thing.
Besides the Malayali connection. I saw a lot of potential in genomics because the fact that all living things carry the same code. So, it is not just healthcare or agriculture or veterinary science, but practically every living thing is impacted by the knowledge that we can get from genomics. Kerala, I felt, is a good place for a startup because it has the biodiversity, it has an ancient history, and it is a place that you can start something small and innovate and experiment in a very low-cost manner. But I don't know whether Kerala can still meet the challenge of scale-up. As Dr. Christy was saying, why did we lose the IT game? Because we had so many few engineering colleges at that time. So how many engineers were we producing? And IT business was a manpower game. So there was no way that Kerala could match up to the growth that India saw in the IT industry. So similarly, in the genomics and the life sciences industry also, Kerala will face challenges if it tries to, when it reaches the time to scale. But it's a good place for a startup to experiment, to innovate. The cost is very low. The lifestyle, the way of life, as Shashi Tharoor was saying in the morning, is such a good place to come. And when I started in Cochin, my labs, and I had people from various parts of India and even outside come, they were so happy that they didn't want to leave. And when I created my spin-off companies and moved some of it outside the state, even people from North India were very unhappy to go out of Kerala. Because once you live here, and the NRS have created a lot of flats which nobody lives in, so you can rent them at a very low price and very little pollution and very good lifestyle. So Kerala is a great place, but like I said, I don't know whether Kerala can scale.
Christy sir, now since you picked up this role and even before, you would be getting this question from a lot of entrepreneurs that, but Kerala's ease of doing business is low and there is still a lot of complications. How do you counter some of these questions when people tell you about no kuguli and people tell you about some of these, the standard, these are the negatives of Kerala kind of questions. How do you counter some of those regular questions that entrepreneurs ask you?
Well, I have been facing this question wherever I go. But let me tell you, there's a whole lot of lack of understanding or misinformation, knowingly or unknowingly. Just to give you why I'm saying this. In Kerala, there are several good modern industries, big and small. In biotechnology sector, do you know there are about 35 odd startup companies here in Kerala? Unbelievable. There are about 108, in my first count, institutions directly, indirectly connected to life sciences. Apart from that, so many other industries, So the question that is basically asked is that, first of all, ease of doing business, Kerala is bad. It is improving. We had difficult past. Does not mean that it will continue. It's again a little unfortunate reporting that has come yesterday, say a couple of days ago, that Kerala has slipped down from 20 to the 26th rank, which is patently wrong because no final ranking has taken place. Information as per the new system of the business reform action points, they are still evaluating one by one. And ours is yet to come. And with the certain actions we have taken in the recent past, for example, I don't know how many of you must have all heard, but about the details you may not know. Kerala has issued an ordinance based on certain recommendations by a study conducted by KPMG. And as under this ordinance, 7 different acts were amended. And about 20 odd rules were amended. And in that, labor-related laws were amended. And the powers, authority given to local self-government institutions to stop work, that has been withdrawn, causing a lot of political heartburn. Because Kerala take its pride saying that we are one state where democratic decentralization has taken place in a very in a model fashion. And here we are withdrawing certain powers from the local self-government bodies. So there is a political heartburn on that. Despite all that, we have issued this ordinance improving the method of doing business in several sectors with specific dates and fixed for within 15 days this has to be given. In 30 days, if you have not received a clearance, it is deemed to have been given a go. And then restrictions have been withdrawn. Actions have been taken to liberalize many of these provisions in licensing, in permissions, in say, for example, just to give one example, that is, for any industry that you start in Kerala, you have to have taken a clearance from the district health authorities. Now you said, no, it is not necessary at all. Yeah. If only there is something connected with health and related areas, you need to get a clearance from them. So this will all get notified, it is, by and by it is coming. And you will see that with that, our situation in doing business in Kerala will definitely improve, don't doubt about it. Our score will go up. I can't say about the rank, sure, but it will not be 26 in any case. From 20, we may become 18, 17, 16, or we may be in 21. It's a comparative thing. Just as we are anxious to improve our performance, other states are also keen to improve their performance. So, the ranking may change, but overall, the situation would improve. And in that also, it is not only for the government to help and try to improve the situation. The society also need to create an ambience so as to invite, attract investment, and sustain its growth. So the ease of doing business will certainly be better in the days to come. That's what I believe.
Thanks. Sam, this entire, we also keep saying that one of the positive factors of Kerala is this cluster of research institutions which are there, especially starting from Trivandrum, the Rajiv Gandhi Center, Sri Chitra Tirunal, etc. Have you been able to leverage some of that presence, some of the presence of so many scientists in this region?
Frankly, no. So we have a number of institutions, but unfortunately the quality is still low, right? And in science, you cannot compromise, right? And the world is a global, global situation.
Right.
So you can't go for a second level. You're forced to go for the best. So, and where do you go for the best? For the science, you are forced to go to the West, right? Best is still the best. No way I'm trying to put down the institutions in Kerala or India, but due to various reasons, for once maybe, like why does Kerala, like a small state like Kerala, need 108 institutions? Right, so most probably many of the institutions would have been created from a political point of view, having institutions across the state. Most probably most institutions will not know what the other is doing, so they'll all be working in isolation. So science can't be democratized, right? So when you democratize science and you spread your money very thin, the money goes
I agree with you.
very spread out. So you can't really go for those institutions can't or can't generate the best science.
Sure.
So that culture has to be changed. And we are a small state, and we are even India as such is a small country from money point of view, GDP point of view. So we have to decide what are the battles that we are going to fight, right? And which are the ones that we are going to be really the best. And if you really decide that, we can do well, as we showed in the space program.
Sure.
Right? We can do much better than the West if you really focus on what we want to do. So similarly in science and even in life science, we have to really decide which are the areas that we are really going to be the best. It can be 2, 3, whatever, right? And then put all our resources or most of our resources into that. And then become the world's best in that.
Christy, is there any way you can leverage this presence of some of these research institutions from a government, from a state government point of view?
This is something which we are focusing on, because today we have a number of research institutions. In Trivandrum itself, about 18 research institutions. In Cochin, there are about a dozen marine research institutions, marine sector, various factors of fishery related. And some of them have mandates, or all of them have mandates only to do research, publish papers, get patents, and keep it there. They don't have any mandate to go beyond that. Even if they have mandate, they do not know how to translate that for commercialization, for commercial production. So the translational research capabilities are perhaps the lowest in this part of Kerala. Even in a first-rate research institution like Sri Chitra Tirunal, they have been doing very well. But notwithstanding that, if you ask them, why don't you commercialize it? Well, we will give them the technology, but we do not know, and we do not want to get into the commercialization process. So what Sam said is very, very point that the level of our papers produced, technology produced, they may not be really ready for commercialization. They require a whole lot of maturing of it. In spite of them getting patents, this is the situation. So we are now focusing on how to get this expertise on translational research and what are all the things to go into commercialization of it. Like in the sense, what are the regulatory inputs that have to go in? What are the IPRs which have to be taken care of? What is the methodology of production on a commercial level? How do they market it? For a startup, it's a big question. And even to develop a market for a new product developed from this kind of research. This is a major challenge, and there are umpteen number of, in my first count, there are about 80 such ready, in inverted comma, yes?
Sure.
80 odd research findings which can be technologies which can be upgraded for commercialization and commercial production.
So for those of you who don't know Sam a lot better, Sam also divides his time between the US and largely India. And when I say India, it's Kerala, Bangalore, etc. Sam, you've seen a very interesting ecosystem in the West. And if you had 3 asks to the state government out here, based on what you've seen out there, and perhaps what you've seen in other places as well, what would be those 3 things which come top of your mind in terms of what should the government be doing?
Well, I think a few things. First, they have to make every institution accountable, right? So without accountability, you can't get results. So if it's a science organization, you have to really publish, and publish in the best journals. So an easy ranking system can be made by which, because there's a rank for every journal. So you publish in A, B, C journals, you can get a score. So every institution should have a score by which they are ranked, right? And the grants and the money that go to that institution should be linked to the score.
Sure.
Number one. So that ensures that the good ones will get more funding. Second thing is that make mandatory for collaboration with the private sector, right? Now most institutions in India, which are government institutions, are very reluctant to cooperate with the public sector, with the private sector.
The private sector.
So I would say make every grant linked to a matching contribution from the industry. It can be a small part. Let's say industry has to put in 10% for any project that they get 90% from the government. So they are forced to cooperate and collaborate, right, with private institutions. So if you do that, that makes this much easier. Then, like I said, the third point, like I said earlier, focus. So get areas that the country and the state,
State can
should
focus on. Possible, sir, these three areas from a government standpoint?
It is possible, and it requires a certain hard decisions to be taken by the government, because all these areas have to be tackled on a policy level. In the sense, you have an invention. How will you give this, how will you sell this technology to someone? And for that, a policy will have to be laid down. And then, what are the regulatory mechanism required in that? In line with the national requirement, national objectives, vision, etc. And also international standards, international practices, international demand for the services, etc., etc. These are baby steps are being taken. In the sense, first, many of these research institutions have been told you will not get the type of quantum of funds which you are used to. Hereafter, this will be the basic grant you will get. If you want anything more, you develop, you find for yourself. It is putting a tremendous pressure on all the heads of these research institutions. One. Two, they have been told your promotions, your further progress, they all depends on the type of output that you produce. It is not that simple piece of paper and a couple of a couple of papers that you publish in the so-called scientific journals. No. A certain element of quality standards are being built into the system. And then regulatory mechanisms are being put into. And the institutions are trained or are getting exposed to this kind of new ideas that anything what they produce is not good enough. It has to be purposive. It has to be on the basis of a market demand, basis of the societal demand. That is something which is getting inculcated. It is possible, but it is a gradual process, especially in the education sphere in India and in particular in Kerala, is very, very difficult. This is, I'm not making a derogatory statement, very, very difficult to make any change. Even you see the syllabus, the curriculum which is prescribed for many of our colleges, arts and science colleges, they are archaic. It's not that they want to change, but they are finding it difficult to change. So it is going to take time, but will happen.
So the audience mix, normally I think this conference, our average age is close to 35, 36. Your message to the entrepreneur or the budding entrepreneur, and you can be slightly more general, in fact more than life sciences, but a message to the entrepreneur or the budding entrepreneur sitting out here, in terms of what should he look up to in Kerala and what should he be?
That's interesting, See, these days I take pleasure in meeting youngsters and talking to them about being entrepreneurs and the need for it. And people call me to the colleges and for giving lectures, annual this, that and all. And the first thing I used to tell them is that, do you know that entrepreneurship is also a career for you? In Kerala, it has never been told. You should get a government job, whether it is the class 4 or it is in the IAS. You need to get a government job. So we are inculcating the spirit that no, this is also a valuable, sustainable career option. And that's quite evident. You must have seen that the number of youngsters that are crowding our YES and our such programs, large number of youngsters coming in. You go to colleges, there is a spirit of entrepreneurship. And what I was mentioning earlier, an entrepreneurial spirit is getting inculcated. Right. And for youngsters, please open up your eyes. Take risk. There is no business where there is no risk. Please take it as challenges. And you are sure to succeed at some time. But at some point of time, if you do not succeed, does not mean that you have failed. You will fail only when you quit the scene. This is my biggest message and my exhortation to all my young friends. Don't quit. You see any number of youngsters who have been extolling the virtues of adopting entrepreneurship as their career. We ask them, this is what they will continue to say, that I refuse to accept to quit. So this is something which I have. The strongest message that I would like, that it's a career and never quit. And one more thing, being from government, never take no for an answer from government. You will hear no 10 times. The 11th time, you will get a yes. So never take no for an answer from government. That's my sincerest. After 40 years of service in the administrative service, I have also said no. The same me has given yes. Not because I am not positive. I am positive and the least negative. But the circumstances are such that you may not be able. So you change the circumstance or you wait for that circumstance. And at the 11th time, you will succeed. So that is another major thing which I would like to tell the youngsters. That's also for the major existing entrepreneurs. And the existing entrepreneurs, especially the successful ones, I feel quite a few of them here. Your service is one big service. Be mentors. I want each one of you. I am preparing a panel, a list of potential mentors. Please accept this as a great honor, as a great opportunity. Show where you have succeeded and how you have succeeded. And show where you have failed and how you came out of it. That's a great, great thing that you can leave to your posterity. A great legacy that you can give. So just as I have given exhortation to the young budding entrepreneur, my greatest exhortation to the successful, not so successful, existing entrepreneurs is that be mentors to the youngster and tell them that there is a bright future for them. That's what I have to say.
Sam, your piece of advice. I know you don't like advising, but your take for some of them from your serial entrepreneurship kind of experience.
Yeah. It's like if you want money, if you want to raise money, you don't ask for money, ask for advice. So when people come asking for advice, you're always scared that they're going to really want for money. That's where they come. I would a little bit differ from Christy, sir. I would say, try to go for an industry which you don't have to go to the government for anything, right?
I agree.
That is much safer. And
You can't live without government. That's a reality, sir.
yeah. No, government is not the problem. Without the government, we can't survive. I mean, there won't be a society or there won't be a system. But if you're going into an industry which needs a lot of permits and stuff like that, it's always going to be a big headache. Anyway, but anyway, that is just a joke. What my piece of advice would be, again, I'll have to go a little bit different from the TiE's philosophy. I don't think we really need an entrepreneur in every house. That is a big overkill, right? So I think entrepreneurship is great, but it's a lot of work, a lot of risk, and you have to be really, really careful before trying to jump into starting a company and getting into that path. Especially in our society now, where it is pretty easy to get a good job. So I would say the first important thing is to get a good education, right? And make sure you complete. Don't think you can be Bill Gates or Steve Jobs and quit your school and go and start your company. Bad thing to do. Complete your education. Go to the best school possible, best college. Get the best degrees. Complete your education, and if possible, do some years of work till you get some good ideas. Unless you have something really nice and really good that you see, which really gives you that passion, that thing, I want to do this. I don't want to work for Infosys or ABC company. I really want to do this thing, which I have identified. So it is like, marrying the girl you love, right? Instead of looking around for a girl to marry. So don't fall in love with love. Fall in love with the girl. So similarly, fall in love with the company or the idea that you want to do, and really think out of the box. I hate when I see again companies wanting to start another IT company, another software services company. I mean, come on. I mean, why do you want to really do that? There are hundreds and thousands of companies there already. You should do something out of the box and think of something which can make a big impact. That's what I meant, like falling in love with that idea, with the thing that you really believe in. That will you heard the person from yonder.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those all you can see the passion and the real feeling that they have, and so age is not a barrier. So it doesn't have to be when you have to be right out of school or college. It can take 5 years. Look at Shivdas Menon. Look at Saiju. So there are so many entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs who do start a business at a much later stage in life, after having their knowledge, getting the experience and making enough money also, so that your risk profile is different. You are not really forced to go for funding very early. You will have some money of your own to build up your equity, because often people talk about starting companies and the entrepreneur, but very few people tell you or advise you how to make sure you have enough equity in the company, right? Or you might build up a very good company and you might end up owning a very small percentage of it, which most people don't realize. So your lot of success might be there outwardly, but at the reality, you might hold a very small part of the company. So how do you manage your equity percentage? How do you make sure that you're not diluted beyond a level? So all those becomes very important, even after the company is successful.
Thanks a lot. Just to reiterate, Mr. Christy will be speaking tomorrow as well, and he's there in the valedictory. So we will touch upon some more of the ease of doing business study, and the study which he referred to, which was done by KPMG, based on which the ordinances were issued in October, around 20th, 21st. He will highlight on some of these aspects again tomorrow. We would like to save a little time and come back to our earlier schedule. And both of them are there. Christy sir will join us again tomorrow. Sam is here. Please ask them questions offline. And we'll close right now. Thanks a lot.